We've been talking about promises made, promises broken before day one by Donald Trump. And one of the big ones that a lot of Trump supporters are kind of scratching their heads and others are outright just screaming at Trump and his administration is the issue of pardons for the January Sixers. I mean, Donald Trump went around in the campaign with the January 6th anthem. I mean, he made a song with some of the most violent insurrectionists, the people who they talk about in the DC jails. If you look at their rap sheet, and that's the group that Trump and all of the MAGA people are like, free them, they're being treated so horribly. When you looked at their background, they were among the most violent, and some of those were the people who sang this ridiculous song that Trump would sing at his campaign events instead of the national anthem. But now you have, Trump didn't say this yet, but he had his surrogates go out and say this. You had J.D. Vance on some of the weekend shows, as VP. You had Pam Bondi, his pick for attorney general during her confirmation hearing. And they basically said, look, we are not going to pardon. They said it pretty directly, actually. We're not going to pardon the violent ones. Of course we can't pardon the violent ones. But that contradicts everything that Donald Trump said, the fundraisers that he held for this group of people. So, Harry, I want to get your take on it. I mean, on the one hand, it's my view that none of them should get pardoned. I'm not suggesting that I appreciate the nuanced position that the nonviolence shouldn't, but if you were going to make a position, at least it's, I disagree with it, but I'm the violent one shouldn't be pardoned. But this was like a central promise, free the January Sixers. So what do you make of this? Are they, there was a lot of all of the judges pretty much in DC, from Judge Carl Nichols, who Trump appointed, who was pretty favorable to some of the nonviolent January 6th insurrectionists and others, to you had the Reagan appointee guy, you had, no matter which judge you are in DC, you've gotten hundreds of these cases. They've learned the facts. They hate these violent ones, and pretty much most of them, or they're very against them. And they gave Trump a warning in D.C., do not pardon these people. They all kind of said it in different cases. So, Harry, do you think the message is coming from them, and that's why you're getting this? Is J.D. Vance and Bondi just speaking out of turn for the confirmation hearings, and then on day one, there's going to be all of these pardons? Like, well, break it down. What do you make of it?
I think this is really interesting, Ben, and really illuminating of what we're going to be seeing with Trump. Let's start with your point of it, of course, undoes everything he has said. These are heroes. These are patriots. So, the most heroic are the top dogs who fight. Who do we honor normally in a revolution? The leading revolutionaries. So it really is, it's completely incoherent for him to embrace and love them up so much. And now you say, oh, we won't pardon the violent ones. That's, you should start with Stuart Rhodes if that's really your view. That's point one. Second, somebody got to Trump. Now, I don't know how, but, he was, you got to wonder, is it Bannon? Is, who has his ear enough to have, he got basically woodshedded, or at least he agreed, shit, I can't do this. It's really been brought home to him. And no way J.D. Vance and Pam Bondi are speaking out of school. J.D. Vance is the one they sent specifically to do the job and announce on Sunday TV. Oh, of course, we won't pardon people, violent offenders who commit violence against police officers. Really? I mean, that's a complete, when did that come from? He did not do that on his own. And Bondi didn't do it on his own. So third, this is, showing, I think, that there's going to be important ways, and I don't think we should make too much of it in a way, but there are going to be important ways where Trump doesn't, has way overpromised and guaranteed what he's going to deliver. This will probably be the case with the reprisal prosecutions as well. And I think it's sort of set up to say, well, whatever Bondi and maybe Kash Patel say. Now, I would not. You could take that as a sign of, what are you and the Midas guys getting all worried about? He'll just do it a few times. But look, if there's a single time where he shows, I'm gonna go and make a prosecution against fill in the blank, Michael Cohen, just because he crossed me. That's the soul of an autocratic government already. It's not, I think he will be using the levers of the law. It'll seem legalistic, but it will be, in fact, autocratic. That was the playbook in Hungary, for example. I think we'll see it here, and it'll be way less than promised. It will be interesting. It's gonna be like a hornet's nest, those MAGA types who've been expecting that he's gonna pardon them all. I think what's going to happen in practice is there'll be a handful of people. Remember, the DOJ had 1,500 people to charge, and they didn't charge the innocent, nonviolent types. There's going to be like a handful of types they'll identify and suggest that the Garland Justice Department went overboard and shouldn't have gone after this and that person, and so they'll be pardoned. But to really exclude, I mean, violence has to include anyone who forces their way in there and sits on, Pelosi's chair and all that stuff. I don't see how they get a pass. And that's going to be, undercover this newfound principle. Oh, not violence against, oh my God, heaven forfend, violence against police officers. That was the whole idea. You go down there and you show them, or we won't have a country. That's what he lit the fire to make them do. It's how they responded. So now this sort of never mind is one interesting. Somebody got to Trump and persuaded him you just can't do it. Also illuminating that, I think in actual results, it won't be nearly as crazy as was, promised on the campaign trail, but that shouldn't console us into thinking we're not truly trenching on constitutional norms. You can do it once, you can do it twice. That means you can do it. That means the rule of law and the Constitution no longer constrain the president.
Harry, I wonder if some of those warnings from the DC judges had an impact, and whether it was a Susan Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, or someone said, let me just remind you how DC works here. Yeah. All of the cases regarding the agencies, executive action, a lot of them go through the DC courts. Heck, that's why there is a DC Circuit Court of Appeals just for Washington, D.C., and that basically handles all of the agency-related cases. So Trump's Project 2025 agenda, when there are all of those challenges, those will all find their way from a D.C. federal court to there'll be some filed in other states, but a lot of them will be filed in D.C., to the DC Circuit Court of Appeals, and then to the United States Supreme Court. And, those judges' warnings were pretty clear,
and remarkable, right? Judges don't normally do that and they really came out, as you say, Republicans, Democrat, Reagan appointees, Bush appointees, and they were, for members of the bench. There was a good piece on this by Mary McCord in the Atlantic yesterday. It's like such an insult would so stick in the craw of judges. Now, you don't think, and we talked about this a little in the context of TikTok, you don't think of Trump as having the nuance or the prudence or the, just political judgment to be affected by that, which is why my surmise is maybe Susie Wiles, somebody said, you really got to backpedal on this and big time. And, it's just hard with everything we've learned about Donald Trump over the last many years and the law to think, he decided this himself. He's got that much judgment, but there's no doubt And that's why the Vance interview was so significant, because you send up the vice president to do the thing that would otherwise embarrass the president. And to me, it made it absolutely clear that this grandiose plan to pardon all the great patriots, the 1,500 and more, led by Stuart Rhodes, and is gonna at the end of the day be a whimper. But still a whimper of, they'll still trash the Garland Justice Department. They'll still find a few. And that already, as you say, is an outrage, but nothing like the cataclysm of letting all these criminals go.
And for those who couldn't tell, when Harry was referring to them as patriots, he was being sarcastic and using
Right.
the language that Donald Trump would use on the campaign trail. And recall that the Republicans in Congress, when they took power in the midterms in the prior Congress, they sent a congressional delegation to the DC jail with the most violent of the insurrectionists. And they were high-fiving them and playing games with them and fist bumping them and complaining about the conditions that they were in right there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on day one. I mean, look, we know that Donald Trump is the definition of arbitrary, capricious, reckless. So it wouldn't shock me, though, if all of a sudden he changes his mind in an emotional outburst and then just does something different. But we'll see. He sent a lot of people to do these morning shows to walk back his positions. Yeah. J.D. Vance on this, Keith Kellogg, a special envoy in Ukraine. There's not going to be a peace deal in Ukraine, at least for about 100 days, or then there'll maybe be a framework. Kind of one by one, these are, and then Trump early on would say, I can't lower the prices. I have no control over this. I don't know if people should invest in the stock market. I worry that there's going to be a dip. Same, lowering the expectations, actually saying that, taking back the promises. And we'll keep you posted every step of the way. Everybody go to
one quick point. He has said he'll be a dictator on day one. I have no doubt that there will be dozens and dozens of executive orders, some of questionable legality. My best guess would be a few pardons issued, Monday, he's President Chaos, right? So, in terms of distracting us and putting us, sort of back on our heels, that's going to be a really crazy first day in office.
Keep everybody posted. Check out the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds Substack, Talking Feds podcast. That's where I get my legal news from. Go there, subscribe, tell Harry in that channel, even though you see him here, that we sent you, and say, Harry, I saw your interview with Ben. That's why I'm here. Say hello to him. Thanks, Harry.
That happens to me a lot, by the way. People say, I saw you on mine. That's why I want to check you out. So thank you, Ben, and the whole network, which is quite the operation. Very impressive.
Appreciate you. And hit subscribe here, and let's keep growing the subscribers here. Thanks, everybody.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 750,000 followers.